best ball in the NFL as we're at the halfway mark now. Isn't it funny? Two quarterbacks that are dual threat guys have the two best ball teams in the league right now, in my opinion. I think Lamar's playing MVP football. I think Todd Monken has made a dramatic improvement. He's leading the NFL in passing completion. And then you got Jalen Hurts continuing to evolve and get better and better and better and better. It's incredible. So really, there's probably 6 teams that truly have a shot at winning a Super Bowl this year. Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs, Jags, Niners, Bengals, Cowboys. Again, I don't know what the Cowboys are thinking when they're going around parading around everybody and telling everybody that, hey, we're more confident now after a loss. I don't get that shit. I just don't. I do not get that. How, you know what? And if I'm old guy, get off my lawn. I want to live in the past because you know why? In today's society, when I see people celebrating second place, sorry, dude. Okay? Like General Patton says, nobody celebrates the loser out there. You show me a guy who celebrates second place, I'll show you a waiter. I don't want to see any of that. Guy, I believe, who understands it. And by the way, I want to know when I talked to Merrill Reese the other day, and I want to know where this hatred for the Cowboys came from. Only guy I know to go to is a paisan, and he is Angelo Cataldi, and he joins us now here. Angelo, where did this hatred come from with Cowboys and Eagles?
Oh, wow. That's Tom Landry. That's we're going back to the 1960s. It started real early. All I know is I've asked Dick Vermeil that question many times because he has such a deep hatred for the Cowboys. I said, Dick, where'd it come from? And he went, no, when you get there, like if you're a first-year coach or you're a player, you are instructed that immediately you must hate. It must be a blood feud at all times. I can't tell you how the whole thing began. It has to do with the America's team and the fact that Philadelphia doesn't like anybody being called that. Philadelphia doesn't want to be it itself, but it doesn't want anybody else to be that presumptuous. And I think that's where it started. And then Buddy Ryan fanned the flames when they faked the kneel down at the end of a game and ran it up on Jimmy Johnson. They hated them. And in my book, I got a story about a guy who severed a head of a Troy Aikman doll with a chainsaw. By the way, the book is, I got the book now.
Oh, let me see it there. Oh, wow.
The book is out. You can get it right now. I'll send it to you right away.
Oh my God, I love that.
AngeloCataldi.com, and it'll be on Amazon, both as a book, a hard book, and it will be on Kindle on the 28th of November. And I am going to be recording an audiobook at some point in here too.
That is so fantastic. I'm going to put it right next. Well, you just mentioned Jimmy, so I'm going to put it right next to Jimmy Johnson's book up there on the wall there, Swagger.
You're going to leave me your information. You're getting the next copy, Danny.
Thank you so much, man. I mean, hey, after what you saw on Sunday, is Jalen Hurts becoming your favorite Eagle of all time?
He probably will not top Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, to me, they're both amazing players. Jason Kelce is an amazing player who is just like a fan. He's got the same passion. He's got the same look. He's kind of got grungy and dirty and nasty. And you saw him getting in the face of all those cowboy guys on Sunday. They're both amazing. They're so easy to root for. But Dan, I need your help this month. I'm going on my old show tomorrow. I haven't been on that show since I left 10 months ago. And, to promote the book. But I'm just still not, I haven't bought into this Eagles team. I haven't bought into it. Like you were just saying, the Cowboys are taking great pleasure from almost winning the game. The Eagles handed it to them. The last drive, no timeouts, 48 seconds to go. The Eagles hand them 60 yards and penalties to put them on the doorstep.
So you're not comfortable, Angelo, with the
No.
way that they're winning games this year compared to
Yeah.
what they did a year ago? Because, in my opinion, Angelo, this is what I say:
Right.
that they are allowing teams with this new formula of not being a dominant running team, and they haven't been really over
Right.
the last month and a half. You're allowing teams and you're giving yourself less of a margin of error at games because you're keeping everybody else in the game,
Yes.
plus the turnovers. And to me, I think it's a remedy. Plus the sketchy coaching, I think that it
Yeah.
really is really kind of, for them to be 8-1, it's amazing. But it just seems to me you're more on edge this year.
Well, here's the thing. All right. In your experience following the NFL, and I've been around longer than you have, but I have never seen a team that had a defense that was 26th against the pass and 8-1. It doesn't add up, right? They can't cover the pass. The last two games, Dan, 770 passing yards. And one of those quarterbacks was Sam Howell.
Wow.
Oh, and at 770 yards. And I'm watching them with wide open receivers all over the place in almost every game. They win. Everybody's happy. I'm going on this show tomorrow, and I'm going to be like the Grinch that stole Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're that good. And I think the problem is what you just said. I think it's coaching. I don't think the coaching is very good.
I've been saying it all
I
year.
don't think it.
I've been saying it all year, and I think it's personnel decisions too, and money decisions. They're stabilized the linebacker position, but it's still not good enough to cover. Your safeties are horrific. Your corners have been. One corner is completely overpaid, and Bradbury, and the other guy is. Do you know what the Cowboy wide receivers were saying? The Cowboy wide receivers, and I posted this. We got over 1 million views on it. That the Cowboy wide receivers are doing this. They're slow and they play from behind and they can't cover. Look at what they did to that guy Ferguson. They turned that guy Ferguson into a superstar.
Bradbury. I don't know what's going on with him. He was awful in Sunday's game. Awful. And even the Slay isn't what he was 2 or 3 years ago. So who's stopping the pass? So here's what I would say, all right, as somebody who doesn't know anything about football, even though I've watched it for 60 years. If I have such a bad defensive secondary that can't cover the pass, 26 in the league, and I had a 70-sack defensive line last year, this year I'm blitzing the heck out of the other team and giving them less time to find the open receiver. They don't blitz almost ever. Almost ever. I was watching Kansas City play Miami, and you know how they got Tua all messed up? They were throwing in players from everywhere at him. They were blitzing him on almost every play. I don't understand how you can be passive when you can't cover the pass. I don't get it.
You're going to get calls from Bob Lang tomorrow if you're going to talk like this.
I know I am. you know what I'm going to say to him? He is like the publicist for the Eagles. I'm going to say to him, I'm retired. Don't bother me.
Hey, Angelo, here's again I've been saying this the entire year about this. I'm like, their ability to throw the ball more. They want to throw it more. That means there's going to be a higher chance of more turnovers and a higher volume of turnovers. That's what's kept these other teams in it. Plus the inability to run the ball consistently. They don't have a power back. Think about this too, Angelo. The places that Howie didn't spend the money on, and I think this has got a lot to do with Howie Roseman and how he wants those defenses to be played. You know what's crazy, Angelo? I think you and me are the only people in Philadelphia that know that Nick Sirianni has no autonomy in that building, and that Howie makes the majority of the calls when it comes to personnel who play Sunday and type of scheme they play.
You're 100% right. And obviously they're doing a scheme that the owner and that the general manager think is best for the team. And I still have my doubts about it. It just doesn't they're watching the same game we are. They're not frustrated when a team gets 60 yards down the field and is on the doorstep to win. There would have been a catastrophic loss for the Eagles. And the only thing that bailed them out is the Cowboys, who are awful in the red zone. Now they're not doing quick passes, which is how you beat the Eagles. Now they're dropping back 7 steps and waiting for Josh Sweat to come in and sack Dak Prescott. It's just, Dan, either I know too much or I don't know anything.
No.
I don't know what it is.
You know what? You know what, Angelo? I call Nick Sirianni a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I think he's a cheerleader. I don't really think, I mean, look, every time, like, here's another example of the lie today. So he was asked a question at his press conference, I think it was yesterday. Are you happy with the run game? Oh, we're excited about the run game. We're happy. I'm like, no, you're not. Why lie to people when you don't need to lie to people? You're covering for shitty calls in the Jet game. Hey, that's my call. What do you mean that's your call? Well, that's why they took the play calling away from you after 7 games. What's your actual job? I mean, I think that team's 8-1 because of the players and the guys in the locker room, Angelo.
Yeah.
Not because.
Yes.
Do you agree that coaching most likely once again will stop this team from the success that it needs to have?
Well, let me rephrase this, because you were just talking a minute ago about the teams that could win it all. And one of the ones you mentioned were the Jaguars, who was coached by Doug Peterson, the guy who won a Super Bowl for the Eagles. Who do you think could give you a better chance to win with this Eagles team? Is it even close?
Doug.
Is it close?
No.
Right? Doug is a better coach by far.
You want to hear this, Angelo?
Yeah.
So people start barking at me today about win percentages, and I go, hey, what's his name is 55 and like 47. You don't actually think Nick Sirianni's a better coach than Doug Peterson, do you? They go like this. Well, look at his win percentage. I go, coaches aren't gauged on win percentages. They're gauged on championships.
Yep. You're right.
Okay.
That's the way I gauge it.
Look at Matt LaFleur. He won 68% of his games in Green Bay.
Right.
What's that mean? I mean, I don't know.
And the reason that Doug Peterson is not in Philadelphia still coaching this really great roster is because he wanted more say than they were willing to give him. I think he wanted to have a more aggressive defense than they have right now, and they said no. He wanted his own assistants, and they said no. This is after winning a Super Bowl. And here I am, Danny. Here's why I think I need to get therapy or something. This is an 8-1 team. And what have I been doing but bitching the whole time they've been out with it? I mean, that's ridiculous, isn't it? They're 8-1.
You know why, Angelo? Because I think you and I are in the same pod here with this and that. You are right here, and you've got a moment of greatness where you can just Philadelphia has never had a dynasty outside of the Flyers. If you want to validate, Angelo, these last 2 years, and you want to validate what they've done, you have to close the book. You can't just show up to the test and say, I passed it. You got to get it through.
That's it. You just nailed it. How many teams are going to have iconic all-time players like Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson? This DeAndre Swift has been fantastic.
He has.
Brown could be the MVP of the whole league.
You think he's better? You think he's the greatest wide receiver in Eagle history?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Did I need any time for that? No. And Harold Carmichael.
You think A.J. Brown's the greatest wide receiver in Philadelphia Eagle history?
A.J. Brown, I am positive A.J. Brown is the best wide receiver in Eagles history. Now, if he stays here long enough, he'll get the numbers to back it up. But he makes plays nobody could make, not even Mike Quick, who is brilliant, but he wasn't as fast as A.J. He wasn't quite as elusive as A.J. Harold Carmichael was great, but he was more of a possession guy. He could beat you deep, but he took advantage of his huge, his height, 6'7". But no, this guy is phenomenal, just great. But it's not enough. If you don't win it with all these stars, what did you win? You didn't win anything.
You didn't validate it.
And I don't think, look, they're facing the Chiefs in a couple of weeks, and the Chiefs took them to school in the second half in the Super Bowl. I don't see anything changing. I think Mahomes is going to have a field day. I don't think they're going to double team Kelce the way the Dolphins did last week.
They don't have anybody to cover him.
They don't have anybody to cover him anyway. And I just think Mahomes is going to eat him for lunch. I do. And I think that is the Achilles heel.
370 yards. What's Mahomes going to do in that game?
Exactly.
With Reed.
Mahomes can, at whatever number he wants, he could probably post. They can't cover these guys. And if you don't blitz, he's going to have enough time. Dan, they're going to just murder me in Philadelphia tomorrow. I'm going to this is horrible. Maybe I'm getting out of my system, and tomorrow I'll just say nice things. I don't know.
Man, I tell you what, I'm right here with you, man. I think you and I are the only guys that absolutely talk like this, man. I mean, it's not that we're killing them. We're saying, look, you're right here. Yeah. You have a shot to really do super stuff.
Yes.
Don't let it, like Rocky says, you can't let it pass by, Rock. You can't let the opportunity. That's where I come from here, Angelo, is with that. I mean, they're so close to really doing something super here. Let me throw this at you. When you look at how this football team has played in the first half of the season, and you look at some of the personnel decisions that were made financially, and then you look at how some of the injuries now are starting to pile up here with Dallas Goedert. Does it get to a point where after covering Howie for so many years that he gets to do this with Dallas Goedert? He's missed 21 ball games in 6 years.
I know he has.
When do you address this and say, this guy's injury prone? It's not that. Hey, and Angelo, I love him. He's a great player. Yep. He's really wonderful. But here at a stretch run again, and almost the same time a year ago is when he went down. Do you start with depth, or do you start the process of replacing him?
The problem he's got is that the cap keeps bumping into him, even though he's good at managing it. And they had a lot more latitude a year ago before they were paying Hurts all this money. They had a lot more wiggle room than they have right now. I think they're going to be okay at tight end. They weren't using Goddard as much as they probably should have been anyway. Goddard is really a good weapon. But I think the problem's going to be, you saw it in the game against the Cowboys. This whole 8-1 team is hanging by the thread in the knee of Jalen Hurts. If that knee gets worse, if he doesn't get over this knee issue that he's dealing with and not really saying much about, they have no chance. The minute he's gone, they're done. All right. Marcus Mariota ain't leading anybody to anything. All right. So they're really, I guess you need luck. You got to have luck too. But you don't get 10 shots at this with this kind of a roster. So when you got one like this, you got to use it to the best that you can. And I don't think these coaches are doing that.
I don't either. Do you think they've become too reliant on A.J. Brown?
No, not, I've always believed that if you have a great weapon, you use it until he drops.
You ride that pony until he's out, God. Right?
I can remember, man, there's so many great receivers from when I was first watching football, like Lance Allworth, Bob Hayes, people like that. And those guys they would catch 12, 15 balls a game. No, I have no problem with them using that. I think he's making Devontae Smith better. I even think they'll get to use Julio Jones more. I think he's going to be helpful, especially in the red zone. No, I think that's all fine. I'm not even complaining that much about the offense, except for the play calling in the red zone, which hasn't been good, and the play calling in the final 3 series against the Cowboys.
That 33, they chuck it down the field. Why?
Why? I don't you're throwing deep. And then Sirianni comes out the next day. He goes, for us, that's a high percentage play. No, it isn't. Come on. You need 7 yards. Get the guy to do a slant and pick up the first down. Now, Dan, look.
You did a segment with him once a week.
We're wrong. Right now, I want to explain. You and I are wrong because they're 8-1. But when they lose 2 or 3 of the next 4 or 5, people will suddenly go, you know what? That's Sileo. He's smarter than he looks.
Hey, Angelo, wait a minute. You did a segment with Nick Sirianni once a week?
Every week for 2 or 3 years.
Was it contentious?
Yeah, at times. Well, I hated the defensive coordinator last year, Jonathan Gannon. So I would rip him all week and then they would win the game, and then Nick would come on and go, "Well, you're going to take back what you said about Gannon." And I went, "Well, you gave up 372 yards. Yeah, you didn't cover the pass." It was like it was, but you got on the real point. It probably wasn't entirely Gannon. It's probably not Sean Desai this year, who's the defensive coordinator. It's probably the philosophy of the organization.
It is
requiring these coordinators to play soft.
It's plug and play, Angelo. Angelo, what it does. It's easier for Howie to replace a player than a system, because that takes more players to replace. So this is why Desai has to come in and change his thought process. That's why you see a little bit more blitzing than you did a year ago, because he believes in that a little bit. But this is an organizational mentality that they would rather plug and play, because it's easier on personnel decisions when they're trying to find a guy and bring him in. So this is a Howie thing.
I guess. Look, I hope we're wrong. I would love to see another parade in this city. And I just I hope it turns out better than what I'm watching these games and going, this is not, no championship team has these kind of numbers on pass defense. It just doesn't. And I think it comes back to bite you at some point.
Okay, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you. Carson Wentz has signed with the Rams. And, you know, Angelo, I said this.
Right.
His time in Philly, for me, his time in Philly was a short-term success in this light. He delivered. He was part of something that delivered a Super Bowl championship. He was 11-2. It started great, finished horribly. He couldn't handle many of the things mentally that were eroding around him, and the bickering in the organization that was going on around him. And he wasn't mentally tough enough. And that's not an excuse. When you're paid $38 million, you got to overcome that kind of crap. But when I say that, am I wrong when I say that, to me, he was part of a moment, and maybe one of the greatest moments in the history of Philadelphia sports history?
Which would not have happened if he stayed healthy. You understand? If he had stayed healthy, I don't care if he was the
You don't think he wins that Super Bowl if he's healthy?
Not a chance. Not a chance. And this was a recurring theme the last 4 years I did the show on WIP. No, I think for what you just said, he wasn't mentally tough enough. And they managed to bring in a guy who had less talent, but was really mentally tough, Nick Foles. And the combination of him and the brilliance and the gutsiness of Doug Peterson is what gave us that treasure. You know, it's the greatest thing that ever happened in my time in Philadelphia.
Were you a person that was, boy, this is going to be almost an embarrassing question to ask you, because I wonder how many times the bosses and people got calls from the Eagles when you were debating this topic here, because they just gave Wentz $38 million annually. Were you on the side of saying that, hey, they need to trade Wentz and keep Foles? Where were you in that process during that time?
No, I bought into the talent that Wentz had for a really long time, even up till the Clowney hit in the playoffs,
Seattle,
that knocked them out. And then I saw the way he reacted to that. I saw the fact that his teammates didn't come to his defense. And then I saw his reaction when Jalen Hurts was drafted. And then you knew that mentally he was not going to be able to cut it. And now he's in LA. And look, he's a good guy. I wish him well, but I have a feeling that they will be equally disappointed in what he gives them.
Who wins the Super Bowl first, Sirianni or Peterson?
Don't do this. Come on.
Hey, by the way, I want the tape marked.
All right, listen to me. I'm going to be a weasel here, which I used to tell a lot of people. I think this year John Harbaugh wins it with the Ravens. How's that? Lamar Jackson looks really good. I think maybe they'll win. I just don't think the Eagles. I don't like a porous defense, and I like the Ravens defense a lot. Maybe the Bengals.
Angelo, Nick, or Doug. Between those two guys, I'll give you a different one. Who wins more division titles, Doug or Nick?
Doug. Doug, because you just heard the Cowboys. They're probably going to win a division this year. You heard the way they were talking.
You're just not comfortable with this team on a week-to-week
I'm not. And here's the problem: the people who replaced me at my old station, they're just lavishing love on them. Most of the hosts, including the ones that are on my show now, Joe DeCara, John Ritchie, they're loving them. They're loving them.
You were not replaced. You stepped down. Let's get it right here. Okay.
I think I stepped down because I'm a dinosaur. That's what I think. And I'm going to be a laughing stock.
Is that the same John Ritchie that wanted Lincoln Riley to be the next head football coach
of
the Philadelphia Eagles?
Don't start dredging up this stuff. I already got stuff I want to get on him tomorrow. I can't do that.
Hey, do you miss it?
Dad, don't forget. Loud, now available. I'll send a copy right out. I'm sending a copy right out to you. Just send me your information. It's now available at AngeloCataldi.com. In fact, here's what happened. Yesterday, I got one, and it was that, I'll personalize it, whatever you want me to say.
I do.
And the guy said, all I want you to say is bleep Dallas, but not bleep the actual word. Now, would you have done that? Would you? Of
course, I would. If somebody's buying a book from me and they know that the way that I've done radio and I've done broadcasting, I've been in it 35 years.
Okay.
And if I've done it like that, I would have done whatever they wanted to do. As long as you tuned into me, it's an honor that people tune into me with all the options.
Okay.
So you bet I would do it, whatever they wanted. I mean, hey, funny, I got to tell you the story. So I'm not going to tell you. Well, I'll tell you. The market manager at Odyssey, after he heard you go like this, he goes, when Angelo goes, you should have been a number one chair in here. And you know what he said? He goes, Sileo, you're like Angelo. He goes, you can't say some of the stuff that you say on the air today in today's landscape. He goes, I want you to know that, and I thought it was pretty nice. Jeff reached out and said the same thing. He goes, radio's just not for guys like you and me, because it's more of a salesman's kind of deal, and you got to be kind of a cheerleader, like you said. And no shade on anybody, because you're trying to keep your job. But, I mean, you got to be a cheerleader today in radio, Angelo.
Yes. But, Dan, do you think I wrote what the guy asked me or not? I want to know what you think. What did I do?
No.
I didn't. I was right on the fence, and then the check cleared. No problem. I will personalize it with swear words if necessary.
I tell people this, Angelo, I don't leave my driveway for less than $5,000.
God bless you, Dan. God bless you.
Angelo, thank you so much, my friend.
It was a pleasure, Dan. Take care, my friend.
You got it. The great Angelo Cataldi. It is wonderful to talk to him, and I appreciate him so much. Hey, by the way, we have a lot of fun, as you can see. You should see our text messages as we go back and forth. It's absolutely crazy here, man. Hey, happy wing givings from Hooters. The iconic Hooter girls are celebrating with you this November. All the great specials that they have Monday through Friday. Ice cold Coors Light, $2.99. 25 cents of that will go on each purchase to a local charity. Hooter calendars are out. 2024, I think 9 of the girls in the Northeast area are in the calendar too. So you go to the calendars at northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. They got $100 in gift coupons inside. Lunch specials, Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 3 p.m. Boneless wings. Military Mondays, 20% off all day for all our great military people. Wing Wednesdays, 1983. All you have to do is know that that's the year the place was founded. All you can eat, and kids eat for free on Saturdays. That's northeasthooters.com. That's northeasthooters.com. And do me a favor, when you roll in, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the